Welcome back to Straight Facts. I'm joined on Friday, as ever, by the man himself, the Don, Husam. How are you, mate? You well?
I'm good. Big up to Straight Facts. Big up to the Terrace audience. My favorite football YouTube channel on YouTube to watch as well as a spectator. So make sure you guys are liking, make sure you guys are subscribing, share this video everywhere. And listen, we're back with another Straight Facts. There's hella football this January, most of it international, to be fair, but there is a lot of football to talk about. And a couple of transfer news as well. But we're here. Big up to you for having me. And yeah, let's get this party started.
Yeah, and I suppose the first element is going to be a party for you because Man United are still linked to players this January window. And the latest name, according to a few UK outlets that we're likely to sign, more so than Timo Werner, which was a shock, is we might be signing Choupo-Moting. Thoughts on that being a kind of savior for Man United?
I'll be honest with you. I have no idea what your club is doing at this point. It's just a joke. I'll be sorry with you. I have no idea what's happening. Choupo-Moting is going to be one of them ones who just has one of these crazy careers where he plays for multiple big clubs. Yet he's not looked at as some sort of elite player. That's PSG, that's Bayern. And now if he goes to Man United, this is just so weird, honestly. I'm looking at what Man United are doing in this transfer window, and I'm like, I don't even think they know what they're doing, to be honest with you. And the only solution for Man United, because look, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. The only light at the end of the tunnel is Jim Ratcliffe and him making a series of right decisions to help elevate Man United. If I'm in power at Man United, I'm taking all power from whoever the hell is making transfer decisions right now to not make them anymore. Whether it be Ten Hag, whether it be some sort of board, I'm firing everyone responsible for these transfers because it's time for Man United to actually make smart transfers for the first time in 10 years. Man United and Chelsea lately is the exact reason why we can't call City cheats anymore, because they spend just as much money and aren't as successful at all. That's the problem. So Timo Werner, I think, is an absolutely dreadful signing for Manchester United, unless they just want to play park the bus and counter-attack football and just have three guys just kind of with pace running in behind. I don't think that makes sense. Eric Choupo-Moting is literally just an absolute joke, to be honest with you. I cannot believe a club the size of Manchester United, even in a rebuild, even Manchester United that's trying to get better, even Manchester United that's trying to, improve, even Manchester United that aren't the fully ready article yet. The fact that Choupo-Moting is even a name that's even linked to Manchester United is a massive joke, to be honest with you. And it's actually pathetic. And you look at the forward line options in January, like, okay, it's not like we have R9 and Raul Gonzalez to choose from, but there are still forward line options that are solid, that can make a difference. Choupo-Moting and Werner definitely ain't one of them. And you've already seen Werner with Chelsea. Maybe the Premier League just doesn't suit him.
I look at it this way. I just looked at Choupo-Moting because some German outlets have said he's not on our list. Some British outlets, including Sky and others, have said that he's more likely than Werner, and they're all on this list. So I went and looked at his career. And last season, he played 30 games for Bayern Munich, scored 17 goals, best season of his career. But before that, 9 goals, all competitions, 9 goals. Paris Saint-Germain, 6 goals, 3 goals. At Stoke, 5 goals. At Schalke, 3 goals, 9 goals, 10 goals, no goals a year before that. This man is an absolute bang average striker. I wouldn't even want him as a backup. And I sit there and think to myself, and look, John James, I'm not bantering. These are genuine stories that are trending, so we're here talking about them. For me, there's been so many positives about things I've read and heard that Sir Jim and Ineos have come into Man United in the last few days and said. The fact they are being very public about this isn't about us making money. They're about to invest £300 million directly into their club of their own money. That's £300 million more, basically, than the Glazers have ever invested. They've not invested 1 penny. He has told the staff that we're not here to sell in 10 years' time to make a profit. We want to get you back to the peak of your powers. The links to Dan Ashworth, Paul Mitchell, Martin Edwards, Blanc, this is great. But some of the links to Graham Potter, what the hell's going on? Werner, do me a favor. Moting, do one. I look at it this way. We've got 3 academy players in Shea Lacey. You've got Charlie McNeil and you've got Joe Hugel. Joe was actually on the tour in the summer. If you look at Choupo-Moting's performances and his goal return, I guarantee you those academy players, even if they flop, will only do as bad as he would. There's no point doing it. Give an academy striker a chance. Give an academy player an opportunity. If you're signing someone who's averaging in the league, by the way, averaging 3 goals a season, what is the point of paying their salary when you can promote a youngster, give them the opportunities? The very worst that's going to happen is they're going to be as bad as Werner, as bad as, I know they've got more experience, I know they're a little bit longer in the tooth, but they are such bang average football players. It's not as though you're saying, look, we could, if somebody was saying, oh, look, you could sign Ollie Watkins or promote a youth player. Right now, I'd say, listen, let's give Ollie Watkins a go. I still don't think he's the answer, but he's got a pedigree at the highest level. These guys don't. And they flopped in the Premier League the last time they were here. So as a Man United,
as well.
I'd rather sign nobody. I'd rather sign absolutely nobody and promote academy players than sign this dross. Idealistically, I want better players. I want top-class players. I want people with a real future ahead of them. But I'd rather promote a young player than give some of this absolute dross a go. And my hope is this is the the dying embers, not the burning embers, the dying embers of the previous regime. And I hope that Sir Jim and his team come in and say, do you know what? Why are we signing players of such low quality? You know, I'd rather sign no one and wait till the summer and buy real class than waste more money on loan fees and wages for Weghorsts. We don't need more Weghorsts. What did it do for us? It did absolutely nothing. So yeah, we need to be really, really mindful because these kind of links, it's just embarrassing that we're even thinking about it, let alone doing it.
The fact that you're uttering the words Choupo-Moting in itself is actual craziness. That's the thing. Like, sometimes when clubs sign older players, by the way, you can even use your own club as an example. Like sometimes you sign older players, but you sign maybe an Edinson Cavani, maybe someone like that. Like at least it gets you a little bit more excited. He's at least he's a player of some sort of pedigree. But when you sign someone like Choupo-Moting, honestly, it's just a joke. And like I'm looking at this Man United situation. We haven't touched on Ten Hag yet, but I think he's literally just a dead man walking at this point. He's probably gonna get sacked.
What they've said is that for the foreseeable future, they're going to stand by him. But what's interesting when you read the wordings of it, again, everyone that loves Ten Hag and I respect them, they've got their opinion. Is like, see, they're backing him. What they've actually said is barring disastrous results, Ten Hag will not be immediately removed, as Sir Jim and Sir David Brailsford priority is to thoroughly analyze what is going wrong and understand the strengths and weaknesses of the club before making major decisions. So what I think they've essentially said is your job isn't safe, but we're going to assess everything before we make major changes, because what you don't want to do, and this is me, it goes against what I believe, but I understand it. You don't want to sack Ten Hag, do you? And then do your investigation and find out he wasn't really a problem, because then you've wasted loads of money in sacking him.
No, 100%. And by the way, that's what I said at the start. I was one of the few people that said, I don't think Ineos comes in and just sacks Ten Hag straight away. I think they give him some time, and eventually the bad results will continue to happen at some point in time. Because I'll be honest with you, I think Ten Hag is probably the manager that's costing his own club more points than anyone I've seen this season. Nottingham Forest first half, it was a snooze fest. It was a boring as fuck game. But Nottingham Forest did not trouble Man United whatsoever. Erik ten Hag proceeds to make the one substitution that costs you the game, which is taking off Kobe Mainoo and putting on McTominay. Now your midfield 3 becomes Eriksen, McTominay, and Bruno. Those 3, if I give to Pep Guardiola, he cannot make it work. If I give to Klopp, he cannot make it work. And that's exactly why you conceded those 2 goals, because there was a literal hole in front of your defense because there was no one there. Now, Kobe Mainoo ain't elite. I don't think he's a freak of nature like some of the people were saying. I just think he's a good prospect. He's a youngster, but at least that's the position he plays. At least he's some sort of defensive presence. Like, even if, let's say, you rate him at a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10, nothing even special, nothing amazing.
Well, just on Mainoo,
he's just there.
But his actual position is an 8. He isn't an out-and-out DM. So he's not even playing in his born and sort of in his strongest position that he played through academy football.
No, but I'm saying he's a defensive presence at least. With Eriksen, Bruno, and McTominay, there is no defensive presence. And that's
True.
exactly why you see the type of goal that you can see that are the cutback goals. That's the thing. Those two cutback goals that happened have just happened to your football club 100 times, and that's why, because there's a literal hole in front of your defense, and that right there is an example of a Ten Hag substitution that influences your team negatively. I think, for example, Ten Hag is one of the main reasons why confidence, because of the amount of times he substituted him off 60th minute, 55th minute, 70th minute, etc. He just kept taking him off and off and off. And that's why there was a couple of times, if you remember, at Old Trafford, when he took off Højlund and the crowd started booing because they wanted Højlund to still be on the pitch. So there are things that Ten Hag has done wrong. This is not just like, as much as it's Glazers out, and I get it. Obviously, I troll, but at the same time, I understand if we're having a real conversation. The Glazers are, of course, the biggest culprit because everything below them is just sinking. It's not just the manager. However, the stuff that Ten Hag is doing wrong, he is also doing wrong. He's responsible for some of these signings. He's responsible for players not performing. His in-game management, his substitutions have cost Man United points. So this is why he needs to get sacked. Now, in my opinion, Ineos are just doing the smart thing, because Ineos cannot just come in and go like, yo, guys, first decision, Ten Hag out, so they can just appease the fans. No. All they have to do is just give Ten Hag 3, 4, 5, 6 games. In those 6 games, if he loses 4, draws 1, wins 1, they just sack him after and go like, he wasn't good enough. That's it. So they just have to play their cards right. That's it.
No, I agree. I agree. I agree with that a lot. I think he's a dead man walking. Personally, football is the game here. Says Terry, we get linked to everyone. Why humiliate us? Lol, talk good news. Elise should be the thumbnail. Well, we spoke Elise 2 days ago when that news broke. It's not happening in January where Choupo-Moting could. So we're talking about that because it's more of a potentially more imminent than Elise. And of course, Elise is a signing I'd be very, very happy with. Although I wouldn't want him, I wouldn't want him until I almost don't want. And I've been reflecting and looking at this the last few days, and it may shock a few Man United fans when I say this, but I've got to stand by it. I would rather us not make any permanent big money signings until the new plan of action to essentially fix the club has been put in place.
Yes,
because if you, even between now and the end of the summer, you can end up damaging a player like Elise if he's in a system that doesn't suit well, if the dressing room is still toxic, if the manager's making crazy mistakes. So from my point of view and perspective, as much as I want to see class players come in, I don't want to see anything happen with major money being spent until the feet are firmly under the table from the new ownership. And it is new ownership because Sir Jim Ratcliffe is the majority shareholder now at Man United. He will eventually have 29% when he invests 300 million euros, which gives him more of an individual percentage than any other individual person at the club. The Glazers collectively have more, but if you actually read into it, the Glazers all want different things. 2 of the Glazers actually wanted to sell. So in terms of the individual with the most amount of power at the club, it's going to be Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He's running the football element of the club. And I'm not happy with everything we've been linked to straight away. I'm not, and I'm calling out things that I'm not. But I do feel like if we drop 150 million pound now, it could be more wasted money by the time we actually decide on a strategy as a football club. So we really do need to be
because if the new manager comes in, you sign Werner, he don't want Werner, then what? You just wasted another 40-50 million for no reason.
Well, even if you just sign him on loan, it's going to cost you 5-6 million in loan fees and his salary. Let's just say you bring him in and then you do sack Ten Hag and you bring in an interim that thinks he's awful and that doesn't play him. That's personally what I would do, though. The one thing I would do is I would sack Ten Hag almost instantly. I would just look to bring in an interim, but make it very clear you're an interim, and no matter how well you do, you are not going to be employed. Because I'd look at someone like, honestly, I'd look at someone like a Ruud van Nistelrooy as an interim manager, someone that, because you're not going to get a world-class manager as an interim. It's just impossible. Yeah, and there are not really any, the likes of Gus Hiddink are not about anymore. But I'd go and get someone like a Ruud van Nistelrooy now. We're not going to do any worse than we're doing at this moment. I think it removes all the toxicity, but it also creates a situation where they can work alongside somebody who understands the club and has been there during the good times, whilst they're looking at all the other problems at the club and picking their new manager. That's what if someone here says, give it to Giggsy. Yeah, I do.
Give it Giggsy to the end of the season. Let's go.
Give it to Giggsy to end the season. Something like that I would do. But that's just because I do think Man United fans have got to wait. This is going to get worse before it gets better with Ineos coming in, because there's going to be a lot of people scrapping for their jobs, and the default behavior at Man United when you're staring down the barrel is to stop working hard. And if multiple departments stop working hard, we're going to have some troubles on our hands. I think United fans have got to Sophia football talk here says, yeah, listen, I'm just looking at, I looked at all the available managers in the world, and like Joachim Löw's on there, and again, that wouldn't be a bad tip for interim, but I don't think he'd pick it. So I'm just trying to be realistic around who's available.
I don't think Joachim Löw would say yes to being interim. Maybe full-time manager he'd say yes, but not interim.
Yeah, and I personally wouldn't want him as that. Wayne Rooney, no, Wayne Rooney can stay away as it stands right now. So that's what I would probably look to do again. But I'm not in there. I'm not facing it. So I'm criticizing what I don't like. I'm praising what I do like. But I'm being very open-minded to the fact that I'm going to wait and see how it turns out before I overly judge it. There's still a lot of United fans. I mean, the weirdest thing are the top Reds who are like, I hate that. They basically hate Sir Jim already because Sir Jim has kept the Glazers there. I'm like, no, bruv. You kept the Glazers there by not boycotting your money and not by pulling away. If you'd have turned around and said, unless you sell to the Glazers, we're pulling away every penny from the club. Sorry, unless you're selling to the Qataris, or unless you do a full sale, we're all pulling our money away. They'd have done it, but they didn't. So Jim, yes, he's going to pay the Glazers money and he's going to slowly buy them out over 3 years. But that's because the fans allowed that to happen. So Jim wanted 100% ownership straight away, but the Glazers said no to it. So there's two other options. There's two options. A part purchase, slowly buy them out, or zero purchase and the Glazers just stay. I'm still happier with doing this than no sale at all. And there are some that have this weird warped idea that Sir Jim offering this part ownership thing made them say no to the Qataris. No, they rejected both bids for full takeover because they wanted it slower because they're going to make more money. How are they able to make more money? Because fans are putting it in. If fans threaten to walk, even if today you said, unless you sell the rest of Sir Jim today, we're walking away pulling their money, the Glazers will give it to you. They'd do it. They'd succumb to it. But Man United fans are not prepared. The majority, by the way, are not prepared to sacrifice their own enjoyment, their own season ticket, their own buying of shirts, the family picture at Christmas on Instagram for the sake of the club. So don't stand there and blame Sir Jim for keeping the Glazers in when you've kept them at the club for 17 goddamn years. Come on now. Come on now. That's a nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Just, again, typical 2024 Brits. I'm going to pass the blame on to somebody else for problems that I've helped create. Absolute weakness, mate. It really, really is. But yeah, Moting to Man United, no chance. No chance. No chance. Another transfer story, though, that's doing the rounds, and this is all stemmed from an article or a tweet from Julien Laurent in France. He's very good friends with Kylian Mbappe. Kylian Mbappe to Liverpool. He has stated that Mbappe has not made his mind up about where he wants to go and that he really, really likes Liverpool. Now, I know you're not going to want to get your hopes up, but I've been Liverpool fans online for a long time now who fervently believe they are in the race to sign Kylian Mbappe. Talk to me.
I really, 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 really like Megan Fox as well. Unfortunately, that won't happen. I mean, look, obviously, this is a story that keeps resurfacing. I firmly believe that we're probably maybe second or third option, but the reality is, of course, Real Madrid remains the priority for Kylian Mbappe. Now, am I going to say it's impossible? No, but, you know, I don't know if you ever watched the movie Dumb and Dumber. You know, the guy goes like, so what chance do I have? She's like, 1 in a million. He's like, so you're telling me there's a chance. So there's probably a small, minute chance it happens. If Kylian Mbappe wants to move to the Premier League, I think Klopp ball and Liverpool makes the most sense to him. I think that's where he would thrive the most, if we're being completely honest with you. In terms of like the PR, the Liverpool PR is strong. We all know that Liverpool been interested in Kylian Mbappe since he was at Monaco. This is not something new. Like, since he was at Monaco, there was a reported meeting between the owners and Kylian Mbappe and his family. His mom supports Liverpool, is something we all like to say. You know, we said that with Jude Bellingham's dad, and now look what happened. But at the end of the day, there's something that I feel like I will always reiterate and say. I think Real Madrid and Barcelona will always have more pull than Premier League teams in general, and Manchester City included. I'll tell you why. If I were to make a Real Madrid Barcelona combined 11 over the last 30 years, it'll have an absolute Galacticos team. It'll have a team that would beat any team in footballing history. Players grow up wanting to be R9, wanting to be Zidane, wanting to be Xavi, Iniesta, wanting to be Roberto Carlos, Marcelo, Sergio Ramos, whoever. These football players grow up dreaming, wanting to play for Real Madrid, for Barcelona. And I think these two teams right here just have a different level of pull to everyone else. And not necessarily, doesn't really necessarily matter how amazing they're doing or how crap they're doing or whatever. They're still attractive clubs. Now, from my perspective, if I am Kylian Mbappe, currently as things stand, you know, if Liverpool maybe do really well this season, Liverpool get into the Champions League, Jurgen Klopp is still the manager, maybe I tell them to keep Salah, Van Dijk, and Trent, you know, not sell any of the world-class players, you know, and I can have a system that thrives. I'll be honest with you. As much as people want to say Pep Guardiola is the best manager in the world, Pep Guardiola is the best manager in the world, but not for every player. I think certain players would thrive a lot more under Klopp than they would do Pep. Mbappe is one of them, because Mbappe would need freedom. He'd need some form of chaos. He'd need some form of something, you know, to give him like space to work with, etc. And you look at the way Liverpool play football. The way Liverpool play football is a lot more conducive for the way maybe Mbappe wants to be.
Yes,
we have good
yes,
PR
yes,
and everything. Yeah, but like all I'm saying is, look, it's probably a small percentage. If he doesn't move to Real Madrid or stay at PSG, then probably we're the second best option, in my opinion. So that's what I would say currently. And I don't think he'd go to Man City either. I don't think he'd want to be with Haaland in the same team and shit like that. I think he'd probably want to do his own thing. So it really depends, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a possibility, but it's a very low possibility, basically.
It is, and Liverpool 32 Red here says, watch Reed Salah's agent's interview at Harvard University, and you'll know Mbappe is easily afforded. Like, Mbappe is affordable for pretty much any giant club, and that's because the Mbappe, you would own the image rights to Mbappe, and the image rights to Mbappe are so lucrative. You would have sponsors knocking on your door instantly that want to sponsor you, that enable you to afford it. And an example being this. Someone like Kylian Mbappe charges somewhere in the region of £250,000 per Instagram post that he puts out. So if you're a brand and you want him to wear your t-shirt or wear your trainers or hold a bag of yours, or, you know, whatever it may be, or, you know, you're an airline and you want him to fly with you, you're looking at, just for an Instagram post, anywhere from £250,000 or more. So when Liverpool sign him, suddenly Mbappe's posting loads of stories and loads of videos in Liverpool kits, in Liverpool jerseys, in Liverpool merchandise. That generates huge income. Huge, especially with your Nike deal as an example. Suddenly there'll be tens of thousands of people per day, hundreds of thousands of people probably per day, buying Liverpool merchandise that Mbappe is endorsing. That is essentially free advertising for Liverpool. That's worth so much money, probably millions of pounds a month of marketing they're getting just through his Instagram account alone. That extra income enabled you to afford somebody like him. So this notion that Liverpool can't afford it is crazy. I'm someone, look, I agree. I think Madrid out and out favourite to get him, 110%. But I think Liverpool are involved. I think the reason why the likes of Liverpool and a lot of the journalists will play it down is because the journalists will not want to build the hopes up of Liverpool fans that it not happen, because you know what idiots are like online. You said it might happen and it didn't. Well, yeah, I said might. I think there's a chance Liverpool get him. I really do think there's a chance, and Salah could leave, and that could be why. There is talk of that Saudi move for him, and if he was to go to Saudi for big money, you've got genuinely the only player in the world that can replace Mo Salah for Liverpool is Kylian Mbappe. He's the only person that I believe who plays that position, who has the ability to score as many, if not more, goals. I don't see you replacing him with anybody else. So I think you have to be in for him. I think you have to go for him. Now, you may not get him. Madrid are definitely the favourites. But the one thing with Liverpool and your connection to him, it's never really gone away. It's never really gone away. It's always remained. So I do make Madrid the out-and-out favourites, and you'll get played down by a lot of journalists. There's no proper contact, etc., etc. And I make them the favourites. But I will say this, it pains me to say as a Man United fan, if Madrid don't get him for one reason or another, I genuinely believe Liverpool can sign him. I'm not saying they will, but I believe they can.
I really do. Look, if Madrid fumble the bag on this transfer, and, you know, as I say, PSG can't keep him, then probably Liverpool makes the most sense for him. I think if you're Mbappe, a move to Liverpool is a very smart move for your career as well, because you know that manager is absolutely incredible when it comes to, like, you know, the forward line players specifically. All you have to do is just look at kind of what Firmino and Mane and Salah's looked like before Klopp and after. They've all gotten their best outputs ever. Even someone like a Diogo Jota, you know, Jurgen Klopp's improved to the next level. That forward line improvement that Jurgen Klopp does is just unbelievable. And I think looking at this whole situation, I think Tyler said it earlier on the chat. He's like, look, if Madrid fumble, we'll be there. So it's just about, you know, if Madrid fumble, if Madrid cannot get Kylian Mbappe, then it will probably like, and of course he doesn't stay at PSG, then it might be us. But I feel like I would like to see Salah and Mbappe in the same team. I don't want to see Salah sold to get Mbappe. I'd rather sacrifice maybe a Nunes and a
Mbappe on the left and Salah on the right.
Yes, I'd rather sacrifice a Nunes and a Diaz or someone like that, maybe like combined price tag would equal just as much as Salah type thing, because I feel like Salah and Mbappe counterattacks, you know, creativity, stuff like that would literally just be a cheat code. So I think, yeah, those two right there. And it's funny people talking about Chelsea. Listen, this is not Chelsea under Jose Mourinho or Ancelotti or any of these. This is Chelsea with an average age of 13 who are 10th in the Premier League. So if you think Chelsea are attractive to Kylian Mbappe, then you just in a different world, to be honest with you.
Do you know what? If Liverpool were to sign him, as much as it would pain me as a United fan, it would show a shift in. It would show a huge shift in power between the La Liga and the Prem. To have Haaland and Mbappe both here versus both there or one split, I think would be a huge statement. There's an interesting comment here that I wanted to go to that says Liverpool don't pay that kind of wage game. Do you know what's interesting? Typically, Liverpool don't, but for Mbappe, it's different. Mbappe arriving with
an exception to every rule, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's a level of player where you're not going to get Harvey Elliott, you're not going to get Luis Diaz, you're not going to get anybody really at the club knocking on the door and saying, "But I want as much money as him," because Liverpool can go, "Cool, get as much traction on the social media posts as him, bring us an audience in like him. By the way, score at the rate that he does. Show me your CV. Does it match up?" You can play it down quite easily. You know, when I used to work in certain different sales roles in different industries, if I had someone that come to me that said, I've heard that Lee Wrigley, who's a really good salesman for me, is being paid like 60 grand a year base, and I'm only on 30,000. I'd go, cool, but this is how much money he makes the company per year. You make 1/3 of that or 1/4 of that. I say to him, get your money up to the same as his, and I'll pay you the same base as his. Most never knock back on my door again because they never got anywhere near his sales numbers. So it's very easily done. Liverpool 32 again here says we outsold United kits by 500 to 700 units last year. Imagine Mbappe in the shirt, we'd clear 100 million easy. Of course,
that's the thing. Mbappe shirt sales, if Nike get involved, that's another door that might open for us. Like, if Nike gets involved in this whole deal, because Nike do sponsor Liverpool as well, and like you're looking at shirt sales, I think if Mbappe does make that move, it'll be record-breaking shirt sales, maybe probably in Premier League history, in terms of like the people around the world that would want that shirt.
No, I totally agree. And this is here. Nike officials made a statement. If Liverpool really are interested in Kylian, they are ready to invest the money. They don't let go of their stars to Adidas, and that's exactly it. And it can create a bidding war between those brands, and the money's there. The money is not an issue as far as I'm concerned. I want to thank Tyler again for gifting another 5 memberships out to our audience today. So thank you very, very much indeed for doing that. Back to the conversation earlier. It says, yeah, Terry, only one speaking nonsense is you. Oh, thank you. If Jim Rat's offer wasn't there, the Glazers would be forced to sell since they have maxed out all their fake refugee credit lines. That just isn't true. That's just an uneducated rant about the Glazers. The Glazers said in their initial proposal that they were looking for part investment or full sale, whichever the best option was. They rejected all of the bids that came in for a full buyout from all parties. They rejected, and then during negotiations they made it clear that they'd be interested in some kind of part ownership with a way. And the reason why they're hanging on is nothing to do with an outright bid right now. It's because there is a feeling in football that a Super League-esque league will come in, whether people like it or not. And if it does, it might mean an extra 400, 500, 600 million pound a year income for the likes of Man United and co. Equally, the new TV deal monies are going to be negotiated soon. And they want to wait, because if all those things come in, the club will then be worth 7, 8, 9 billion, and they're holding on for that. So unless someone paid them 7, 8 to 9 billion for the outright amount for the club, which no one was ever going to do, they weren't going to walk away from the money they're going to make in the future. So that just isn't the case whatsoever. Weird top Reds have said that, but it just isn't true. We have a super chat here that says, as a United fan, Gakpo, Mbappe, and Salah would be deadly. Pure pace up front.
Yes, Gakpo in the 9, or possibly Nunez in the 9, with those two ahead of him, it would genuinely just be a cheat code. And I think with Salah improving his creativity to the next level compared to where he was when he first joined now, Mbappe would absolutely thrive. I think, like, you know what it is? I'm not even exaggerating. Look at the game, like the Newcastle game we just had, 7.5 XG, Premier League record. I think you add Mbappe in that equation. You know, maybe you take out the Nunez chances, give them to Mbappe, or you take out the Diaz chances, give them to Mbappe or whoever. You're talking about an Mbappe hat-trick right there, just in that game alone, maybe in the first half. So that's why I'm saying, guys, you know, people love this Pep ball shit. I don't like it. You know, I prefer more the Klopp type of football. I think Mbappe would 100% thrive more at Liverpool than he would do City. 100%. I think Haaland would score more goals at Liverpool than City, by the way.
You think
had
he
Haaland
would?
been in this current Liverpool team? Yes. Had Haaland been in this current Liverpool team, I think he'd bang in way more goals than the City team.
Viewers, let us know what you think about that claim there from Husam. Debbie says, hey guys, not happy about my Barca, but win is a win, right? Now you know why I'm a Man City fan as well. Of course we know why I support two teams. Here's a good super chat here that says start bench drop based on form, Jackson, Nketiah, Lewandowski.
I cannot believe Cooler, you know, I understand Barcelona fans, you're very snobby and like you have high standards and shit because you watched Messi, Suarez, David Villa, etc., Pedro, Neymar. But please don't ever disrespect Lewandowski and put him next to these two clowns. Start Lewandowski, bench Jackson, sell Nketiah.
Exactly the same as mine. That's the way around I would personally do it. Nate here says Mbappe plus Mo would unlock Nunez. I'm just saying.
Nate, if we sign Mbappe and Mo, and keep Mo, the last thing I would give a fuck about is keeping Nunez or Nunez banging. Those two alone would probably have a combined 100 GA in a year, and you're telling me about Nunez. That at that point in time, if we have them two, it doesn't matter if Nunez is unlocked or not. Have some shame, man. See, he's laughing now. Nate, you're such a fraud, you know, talking about, oh, unlock Nunez. Come on, man. If we had Mbappe and Salah, you think it matters what Nunez does? It doesn't matter what Nunez does, man. Have some shame, man. You guys are such shameless people sometimes. Oh, unlock Nunez. Come on, man.
I hear you on that. I wanted to ask you about Arsenal, though, and their transfer window, because they're today linked. I mean, it's been shut down by Juve, but Juve would shut it down at this point. It's quite normal for them too. But they're linked with a move now for Vlahovic. There's talk that this could advance this window. All the talk about Ivan Toney has gone very, very quiet indeed. They're not looking. There's a lot of talk from a lot of the Arsenal outlets. They may do zero business this January. How bad is that for Arsenal's title credentials? And secondly, if they are to go for Vlahovic, how good a signing do you think that would be?
I mean, first of all, I feel like before I even address Arsenal, I want to address City first. And I will bring it back to Arsenal together.
Okay, mate.
The reason why, you know, I hate Manchester City with my whole soul is Manchester City are just a little bit behind. Like, they're just not as good as they were last season, just by a bit. They still have a chance of winning the league, obviously, a big chance. And they want to go sign Joshua Kimmich right now. And this is exactly why Manchester City are just the super fucking villains of this entire league. And I can't stand them. And I genuinely hate them. And the fact that you're about to sign the biggest talent to come out of Germany in the last 10, 15 years, just because you look a little bit off the boil, is fucking insane. They already have a £1 billion squad. They've already got KDB coming back. They've already got Erling Haaland coming back. And they're looking at signing Joshua Kimmich. And then on the other side, you look at the other two. Liverpool Football Club clearly need a centre-back right now. Once again, bringing back Reece Williams and Owen Beck. Not really looking that positive for us right now. Arsenal Football Club, linked to Curtis Jones, linked you know, to midfielders, not really looking at the forward line. And you look at the superheroes of this league, which is Liverpool and Arsenal, and you're like, okay, are you guys just gonna fucking step up now in this transfer market? Now, you know how we say a leopard doesn't change its spots when it comes to Arsenal and them bottling it and etc. Our version of a leopard doesn't change the spots is the transfer market. The leopard doesn't change its spots is in January and June to August. That's the Liverpool version of it. And just gets to the stage where like all Liverpool fans right now who want their club to win, who want us to succeed, who want us to win the big trophies, they understand that there's a serious lack of ambition from these owners to just want to win stuff. If you locked up John W. Henry in a room and you sat down and you spoke to him and you said, right now, 10 years, you finish third in the Premier League or fourth in the Premier League, you get Champions League football every single year and you don't win anything, would you sign that contract? He is signing that contract. He does not give a fuck about us winning. And it just shows because this January transfer window now is massive for Arsenal, massive for Liverpool. And now to bring it back to what you said about Arsenal, if Mikel Arteta or Edu or whoever cannot see that they need a forward, then whoever it is at Arsenal that cannot see that they need a forward, get them sacked right now. Just get them out the job right now because it's actually pathetic. Gabriel Martinelli got 2 goals in 18 games. Gabriel Jesus got 3 goals, I believe. Nketiah got 5 goals. Trossard ain't banging this season. Bukayo Saka, even he himself has come under criticism, only has 6-7 goals. It's literally so crystal clear and obvious that Arsenal need a forward line player. Now, the whole Tony thing, people like, oh, Brentford aren't going to sell Tony, blah, 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 blah. Okay, no problem. Brentford are going to sell Tony. Now, as Arsenal, you shouldn't just sit there and just essentially just wait for like nothing to happen and just because, oh, Tony, we won't sign Tony, so that's it. Don't sign anyone. No, you have to sign someone who puts the ball in the back of the net. Now, the problem is Arsenal are looking at midfielders. Now, you ask me if they sign Vlahovic. I think Vlahovic is a fantastic signing. There are videos 3 years ago of me saying when Vlahovic was at Fiorentina that I wanted him. I've rated Vlahovic for a long time. Now, I don't necessarily think he's an unbelievable footballer or he's this great, unbelievable, technically sound footballer or anything. But I think Vlahovic can put the ball in the back of the net. And what are Arsenal lacking right now? A player that can put the ball in the back of the net. So it makes sense to sign a player of said caliber because I don't think Arsenal or Liverpool can win the league without signing a player in January unless they're perfect. Unless they're perfect from January till May. And I'm talking about perfection, Terry. I'm talking about 2-3 players stepping up. I'm talking about players taking it to the next level because that Arsenal front line has just been suspect all year long. That's the thing. So I think they need Vlahovic. I think they need players 100%.
I agree. I think Arsenal fans, I know they're frustrated with some of the performances in the last couple of games. I understand that and they're criticizing it. But I think they're not focusing on the right element of the club right now, and that is what are you going to go and do in January? I'm seeing too many Gooners be sucked into the FFP nonsense. FFP is easily resolved. Your ownership invests its own money, which they're allowed to do. The Kroenkes are one of the lowest in.
Just selling Nketiah. Problem solved.
Well, yeah, I mean, they can sell players, but their owners can invest their own money. They're one of the lowest investors out of all Premier League owners of their own money being injected into the clubs. There are players in
we're
your
even below them, Terry. Think we're even below them.
Oh, yeah, we're below all of you. So there's money that can be invested. There are players that can be sold. They should be, metaphorically speaking, Arsenal fans should be stepping upon the throats of their owners, of their board, of their footballing directors, sporting directors, whatever you call them, to go out and buy. There is a seller's market, so it's going to cost you money. But Arsenal, it feels like they're a striker away from being able to win the Premier League. And it doesn't mean they won't compete again next year, because I think they will. I think they're back to being one of the best teams in England again. And I don't think they're going to fall off dramatically. But there's an opportunity again, with City not being at their very best, to improve your team and keep going. And the reluctancy to invest at this point should infuriate their fans. They've done a lot of good things right, Arsenal. They've been behaving far more like a giant club of late, with the renewals of contracts, not allowing their best players to leave, spending the money they have done on really significant players like Declan Rice. But you can't stop now. You can't act like a big club for 2 years. 2.5 years. Get to that point where you're doing what the big clubs do, but then just go, we're not going to go again. You've got to keep going. It's one of those things that you've started this, you can't drop out of it now. This is where you are at. And I understand some Arsenal fans will back their club and say, no, we've got FFP issues, we can't do it. I personally think that's nonsense. You've got owners who are super rich that can pump money in. There's assets that you can sell. You can spend money. Even if you break the bank now and don't spend in the summer, work it out. Get your accountants to work a way to get that done. It is doable. There is a way to do things. I mean, Chelsea worked out some loopholes. I'm sure there's some others that you can look at. They have to buy. If they don't buy this month, I still think they'll challenge for the title, but I just don't see how they overthrow Man City. Liverpool 5 points clear of them. That means there's 2 teams now they have to finish ahead of as well. And look, I agree with you. I think Vlahovic is a decent player. I think the move to Juve has been all wrong for him, but Juve themselves have been in absolute trouble, really, since he's been there for one reason or another. It's a horrible place, I would say, to be at right now as a professional. He probably shouldn't have left Fiorentina with hindsight. He probably should have stayed there because he was killing it, scoring goals for fun. And I believe he almost needs a bit of a rebirth himself. Ivan Toney would be the person, if I was an Arsenal fan, that I would want more than anybody else. But they are looking at £100 million for him. And it's talk today that Chelsea are going to sell some players and loan some players out to raise the money to try and buy him this month. And that also becomes an interesting one, because if Chelsea start putting bids in for Toney, Arsenal surely have to move, because the talk is they're going to wait till the summer. But you can't wait for the summer if he's already fucking gone. So Arsenal's situation is really interesting. And what I'm a bit, again, as a Man United fan, I'm not bothered. But just as the host of the Terrace looking at this and assessing it, the football fan in me feels a little bit offended that Gunners are defending their club from not spending more money. I don't understand it.
No. Arsenal fans need to hold their club accountable. And even if Brentford put out an official statement on BrentfordFC.com that I don't even know if that's their website, but you get what I'm saying. If they put out an official statement saying, Ivan Toney is not for sale under any circumstances in January, Arsenal shouldn't sit still. Arsenal should definitely go and buy someone. By the way, I keep the same energy for my club. I think both of us, we buy players. If Arsenal buy a striker, and in my opinion, Liverpool possibly a DM or a centre back or both, we win the league. That's just the fact. So, like, I think we're possible. And people always say shit like, "Oh, it's not a guarantee." Yeah, of course, it's not a guarantee. Nothing is a guarantee in life. But I just want to put myself in the best possible position to do so. Now I'm looking at this Arsenal attack. This Arsenal attack stinks. It's literally just Saka and basically hit and hope with the other 3. So you need someone to step up. And unless one of the others steps up, like unless Martinelli scores 15 goals from now till May or something, then they just need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. And this is the fact. Now, I think Brentford are taking the piss with 100 million for Toney. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, he's obviously not worth that much money. But, Ivan Toney shouldn't go to Chelsea either. That's the equivalent of committing career suicide if you go to Chelsea. I don't think he's going to be successful at Chelsea. By the time Tony's, Chelsea are ready to win stuff, Toney will already be 31, 32 at the time. So, yeah.
Listen, they've got to go out and do something, no doubt. There's some super chats here that says we need midfielders and defenders too.
I don't think you need defenders or midfielders. I think that's blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
At the game against Fulham, had you had a clinical forward, by the 15th minute, the game's over already. But the problem is you have no clinical forward and you kept the door open for Fulham. And the only goal you scored was off of Martinelli's shot that just hit Saka and went in. And I think Arteta's to blame. And there's something interesting I want to bring up. And I want to actually ask Terry, because I know straight facts he's supposed to ask me, but I'm going to ask him as well. There's an interesting thing. I don't know where I read or watched this, but there was a guy who said the only 2 managers to beat Pep Guardiola to a league title in the last 10 years are the 2 managers that played their own brand of football. Now, I thought about it. I've literally been thinking about it ever since I heard it. And I'm thinking, okay, so Mikel Arteta is essentially playing Pep ball with a little twist to it, but it still is, in essence, a Pep style of football. Now, do you think Arteta could beat Pep at Pep ball? That's the question. Because I don't think he can. Because you look at Liverpool, currently top of the league. Klopp has his own style. Klopp has beaten Pep Guardiola already with said style. And 10 years before that, the guy that beat Pep Guardiola to elite title and Jose Mourinho had his own style of football. He did not play possession-based, all this tiki-taka nonsense. He played completely differently, and he ended up winning La Liga ahead of Pep Guardiola. So I'm thinking, like, if you want to beat Pep at his own thing, you need to put yourself in the best position possible. And currently, as things stand, their forward line is just under-delivering.
Yeah, look, I'm not a massive. Look, I love football. I think that football has become a little bit too regimented across the board. Nearly everybody's style is very much system orientated. Everybody has a specific role. There's very little freedom. There was much less creative freedom and sort of those free ranging roles that used to happen. It's very statistical driven. So, you know, Pep doesn't like a lot of long shots because, you know, I think it's something like less than 5% of long range shots go in. So the point is, if you hold possession and work the ball into the box and shoot, you've got a much bigger chance of winning. So it's become very sort of scientific and mathematical. And I think that there's been improvements to football because of that in terms of efficiency and getting more out of players. I think some of the fun, when you get a really good team, I've always said about Pep's teams, as brilliant as they are, I find a lot of their games boring to watch because they're very often not spectacle. It's one team just being so much better than the other. And that's not a dig at City. I'm just looking at that from an entertainment point of view.
That's not a dig at all. City are fucking boring to watch. Like, let's just say they are. They are. I'm sorry, they are. Like, it's because I had my best nap this whole year after a City game. I slept for 6 hours. How boring they are. Of course they're boring.
Yeah, I look at it this way. I think you need your own. I think if you copy someone's system and you sort of bastardize it, they're always going to know what your next move is because you're copying it's their playbook. You know, if you went and stole a coach's playbook in the NFL and you started using it, if that coach knows his playbook inside out, they could read you and they know what you're going to do because you're using their model. I think the issue that you have with Arteta, though, is that he's still so much a novice. He's only sort of 3-4 years into his managerial career. If he was 10 years in and then joined Arsenal, he'd probably have his own identity by that point. But when you go from working under Pep and your first thing you do is going to a team, and Pep obviously hires coaches that view football the same way as him. That's why he's hired you as an example. So you're going to get that crossover. I think that, do I think they play exactly the same way? No. I know some people go, the inverting of fullbacks. Was that really a Pep thing? I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. I mean, I remember Philip Lahm doing it ever before Pep went to Bayern Munich as an example. It's been done before, but you do have to have your own identity, and you've got to have some aces up your sleeves and everything else. But I think that going toe to toe with Pep Guardiola and trying to beat him at his own game is very, very hard indeed. Very hard.
Yes. Over a 38-game season. By the way, certain Chelsea fans, you know, big up Andrew in the chat. Of course, main character syndrome. Oh, Conte beat him. Yeah, but that doesn't debunk my point. That adds to my point because Conte as well had his own style, his own philosophy, and he beat Pep Guardiola to it. Now, I'm not saying beat them as in one-on-one beat them, as in beat them in a game of football. I'm saying beat them in a 38 Premier League game season. Because can Arteta get Arsenal to play better Pep ball than Pep does the Manchester City players? That's the question here. Now, at the start of last season, Arsenal done that. You know, 51 points in their first 19 games, etc. They were flying. But you look at the current state of Arsenal, the way that they're playing football, it's not conducive to the best abilities of the players. I'll take it a step further. I think had Jurgen Klopp been this Arsenal manager of the current crop of players without any change, and had you had the Klopp style of play, if you would like, with these Arsenal players, they would thrive a lot more. Because someone like a Martinelli, someone like a Jesus, someone like a Saka, someone like a Trossard, all these players would bang a lot more in a system that allows them more to show their creative stuff. I was speaking to Troops earlier on. He's like, Husam, the problem is we're trying to pass the ball to the back of the net. With Liverpool, we ain't trying to pass that ball. We just trying to cross, pass, shoot, long shot, whatever it is. Any opportunity we think we can score and we're taking, we're trying. And I think that will be a lot more conducive because sometimes you watch Saka and Martinelli and every time they cut in, I don't even think shooting is on their mind. It's always like they just want to cut it back to Odegaard and then like run back.
The problem that you've got, and I understand Arsenal fans wanting Arteta out. I do get it because they want to win now. You know, they don't want to keep waiting for him to develop. Last year, I think they were a little bit too open. This year, maybe they're being a little bit too controlled. And this is the fledgling, inexperienced novice manager still, only 4 years in, who is still finding himself. And he, again, eventually he'll find that happy medium where he can control the games, but not try and walk the ball into the back of the net as much. And it's getting that balance absolutely right. The good thing for Arsenal fans is the players are listening to him, which means he hasn't lost that dressing room yet. But I do think there needs to be at some point this season, and it may have to come now because they're 5 points behind, he's got to let them reins go a little bit.
Yes.
Because what we saw in the last 2 games was the defense look a bit shaky, which it hasn't done all year. Like City barely created against them. They've had a very solid defense most of the season. The last couple of games, that looked a bit shaky. So maybe he has to turn around and go, right, guys, we've reserved some energy. We haven't played at 100% for the majority of the season. Now, take the reins off. Go for it. I want more risky passes. I want you to shoot a little bit earlier, and I want us to go out there and blow some teams away. Maybe
they're
now
more worried about possession
and
pass accuracy than actually just creating danger. That's the thing, because Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus, and even Nketiah, they had the ball in a dangerous position against Fulham. So it's not like they didn't get the ball in those areas. They did, but they're not attempting anything of this. I'm not even going to say of the spectacular. They're not even taking risks. They're just literally just cut and pass, cut and pass, cut and pass. And by the way, Fulham created the more dangerous chances that game. It wasn't a smashing grab, sorry. Raul Jimenez had a chance. Tom Kearney had a chance that Raya saved. They had a couple of chances from a corner. Andres Pereira free kick. If you to tell me right now who was closer, was it Arsenal to scoring the equalizer or Fulham to scoring the 3rd goal? I'd say Fulham was closer to scoring the 3rd goal because they created a lot more. And speaking of Arsenal, I'm just going to go get a water bottle. Just give me 10 seconds. Big up Arsenal fans. It's a joke. Don't cry. 10 seconds.
Luke here says, big up to Sam and Terry. Thank you, Luke. I really appreciate it. Please hit like buttons, people, and subscribe to the channel. How do you guys rate Stevie Nicol? I didn't really watch him play as a player. He's before my time, really. As a pundit, I think he says some mad things, if I'm being honest with you, my bro. I really do. The new MSN, Mbappe, Salah, and Nunez is what Christopher has got to say here. You only mentioned Liverpool and Arsenal signings, not City. They definitely mentioned City and what they're going to go and do and everything else. And City, we know, have got a capable squad of winning the league there, my friend. I think that's why. We beat City twice this year, Husam. Go to sleep is what Nico has said. I think Husam meant beating them to a title as opposed to beating them in an individual game. Or at the very least, that's how I kind of interpreted what it is that he said there, my friend. Don't slip, Husam. Husam is funny. He is funny. I like what he said. There's a question here for both of us. That's the one. This is more for you, actually, from Pac-Man. It says, I don't remember Batman ever throwing bricks at buses and coins at managers. So Sam must have a different watch different superheroes to me. These Liverpool fans.
Oh my God. A Liverpool fan threw a can of beer at a city bus 6 years ago. Oh, fuck me. Liverpool are so fucking evil. How could a fan throw a bottle at a fucking bus? Oh my God. Everyone please spam the violin in the chat. Let's all fucking cry for fucking Pac-Man. Pac-Man, I understand. You go all over YouTube and you seek validation because all the shit that you're doing and no one gives a fuck. It's 2024 and there are still people saying City save football. Don't let Liverpool win the league. Don't let Arsenal win the league. That's you right now. So this is the problem. You just don't have that validation because no one gives a fuck about your club because it could have been anyone else. You won the jackpot 12 years ago, and that's the reason why we're talking about Man City right now. If the Sheikh woke up on the different side and he bought Tottenham Hotspur would be spoken about like Man City now. So you know your club means nothing. That's just the fact. This means nothing because you just won the jackpot 12 years ago. So do me a favor. No one gives a fuck about a bottle thrown at your bus 7 years ago. This could have been literally anyone else. So please don't think you're some sort of special thing. You literally have formed a £1 billion squad and you're about to buy the biggest talent out of Germany in the last 10 years. Have some shame talking about a bottle thrown at the bus. Oh, you're not the superhero. Hey, give Jurgen Klopp Pep resources and he'd win even more. That's all I'm saying. I didn't have to buy Erling Haaland, KDB, Rodri, Bernardo Silva, all these players to win a Champions League. Andy Robertson was bought from Hull for 3 million. Joel Matip was on a free. Joe Gomez was bought from Charlton for 3 million. Trent from the academy. Henderson 20. Wijnaldum 20. Fabinho 40. Salah 40. Mane 30. Firmino 25. If I give that money to Pep Guardiola, he would quit management the next day. Have some fucking shame, man.
There we go. As Sam has had his say on that super chat. Who are your club goats?
Kenny Dalglish.
Mine,
Kenny Dalglish, Steven Gerrard, and Mo Salah. That's the three.
Mine. I'll just give my personal perspective. We've got a lot. So Bobby Charlton, George Best, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Wayne Rooney. A special mention for Eric Cantona as well. Like there again, there's so many with a club as great as mine. So it's just so hard, you know, being the most successful team in England. You know, it's just difficult, man. It's just difficult.
You're not the most successful. Relax. We're the most.
You know, remember we had Best, Law, and Charlton win back to back Ballon d'Ors, brother. Like, do you know what I mean? Or you know, it's crazy. Robbo as well, Captain Marvel. So many great players. I want to this Sunday though. You play Arsenal. And before we talk about it in depth and what's going to happen in the game, I want to show you a couple of tweets. This here from an Arsenal fan says, "This is why I'm not bothered about the FA Cup. I want us to win because I want us to win every game. But in the big picture, what does it prove? It doesn't really benefit us that much." Another Arsenal fan today has tweeted that, "I hope we lose. We can't afford more injuries. We need, you know, if we have that, you know, that lineup for the Champions League, it's certainly possible to win it. City couldn't even create against us." So he's essentially, so I'm seeing a lot of Arsenal fans today kind of want to win. Some want to win, but don't think they need the FA Cup. And others that hope they lose because they believe staying in the FA Cup could lead to more injuries for them. I need to ask you, first of all, why are there, not all, before anyone gets triggered, why are there Arsenal fans out there playing down? By the way, the FA Cup is their trophy. They're the most successful team ever in it. Their manager has only won 7% of all the trophies that he's competed in so far. To put that into perspective, and I actually did these numbers earlier today. Their greatest, you know, Wenger won 11%, George Graham 16%, Klopp has won 20% of the tournaments he's competed in. You know, Pep Guardiola 46% in the Prem, that is 40% in total in his career. Fergie 41% in his career. Jose 30% in the Premier League. Carlo Ancelotti 25%. You know, they've got to try and win more trophies. Why are Arsenal fans, in your opinion, playing this down as though it's not important?
I think showing snobby attitude towards trophies is just the reason why Arsenal are where they are. You know, the Arsenal fans that call out the mentality of their fan base are right. Sometimes when I see stuff like this, it's just so pathetic, to be honest with you. Saying stuff like the FA Cup doesn't matter. I can say that. You know why I can say that? Because we're in a Carabao Cup semi-final and we're more than likely to win the Europa League. I know that Liverpool have put themselves in a position that probably 90% likely I'm going to walk out from this season with 2 trophies minimum. Which for any club, okay, you've won 2 trophies, you've obviously not failed like miserably or anything, but obviously you want to win the big ones. But with Arsenal, the fact that you want to come up here and say 4 years into this project that you do not care about who wins the FA Cup is just absolute insanity, to be honest with you. Arsenal Football Club 100% should be aiming to win the FA Cup because it's the one trophy they have the biggest chance of winning this season. Premier League, obviously, unfortunately, the scumbags are favorites. Champions League, you look at it and it's just like, okay, other than City and Real Madrid, who are really like in a position maybe okay, maybe clubs beneath that, it depends which side of the draw they're on, etc. But other like Real Madrid and City should be heavy favorites. So you look at the FA Cup, if Liverpool do knock out one of the contenders in Arsenal at home, which because they're playing us at their own ground, which means they should be favorites, which means also all pressure is on them. All pressure is on Arteta as well to deliver a trophy. Because what you cannot do is have a Pochettino at Spurs thing, where you keep talking about process, and then win nothing. That's the problem. So every process, everything that a manager does at a football club, the end goal is to win a trophy. The end goal is let me see some silverware. Now, obviously, Arsenal did not spend all that money to just win the FA Cup, but it might kickstart, the bloodthirst, if you would like to win trophies, to get involved in trophies, to just, want to win the Prem, want to win the Champs, want to do all of that stuff. Sometimes it helps when you're winning games because winning breeds winning. And all pressure is on Arteta and Arsenal this Sunday because Liverpool literally 3 days later play a Carabao Cup semi-final. So we're already in a semi-final of another domestic cup. And as I said, I have already stated our case with the Europa League. I think most people would agree that Liverpool are favourites to win the Europa League.
But you wouldn't celebrate winning the Carabao Cup, were you? Because last year you said it was embarrassing that Man United celebrated winning it, right?
No, I listen. Obviously,
you said why is there a Brazilian flag on the field? There'll be some kid in Sao Paulo that has never heard of the Carabao Cup. This is bullshit. You said something like that, right?
Yeah, and the same Brazilian kid now, knows exactly what the Carabao Cup is when we win it. So big up to his mom for telling him what the Carabao Cup is. But anyway, I think I really think Arsenal need to win this trophy because it's the trophy they have the biggest chance of winning. That's the thing. Because
I know it's not all Arsenal fans. There's a lot of gooners that want to win it, but a lot of the people I'm seeing stating that don't really care about it are like big Arteta advocates. And I think to myself, if you're really an advocate of Arteta, you've got to want him to win this because it buys him more time. If you believe Arteta's the guy who needs time and he's going to get you to the top and maintain it, you need trophies because if he wins the FA Cup this year, comes second in the league, does well in the Champions League, and there's overarching improvements and they reinvest money, it's then 2 FA Cups he's won, which is good for a fledgling manager and he's getting you into title races. But you come second and go out in the semi-finals of the Champions League and don't win the FA Cup, even more pressure builds up next year. You need to want to win trophies. I know there's this nonsense of, we might get injuries if we stay in it. Trebles would never have been won by Manchester United and City if the attitude was, do you know what? We're not going to play strong teams in the FA Cup and the Champions League because we might get injuries and therefore not win the Premier League. Well, that's how greatness is forged. It is part of the risk versus reward. You can't go around on it. If you start telling your players you're not playing today because you might get injuries, you do realize you're going to put fatigue into their mind. You're going to make them nervous in training. They're actually going to end up with more injuries. You've just got to go out and play football. So I say this to these gooners, and they're probably young that are doing it. Stop this nonsense. You should be demanding to win every tournament. Just because you don't doesn't mean you throw baby out with the bathwater. But playing it down as well is done for this reason. So if they say now they're not bothered by it, if they lose on Sunday, they can say, well, I told you it wasn't even that important. It is a preemptive strike to try and downplay going out. And if they go out on Sunday, I know it's to Liverpool, so it may not be out and out embarrassing, but you're at home against another one of the favourites. You knock them out, you open up that tournament and give yourself an amazing chance to win. There's only one more team left in it that you could say are better than Arsenal there, and that's Man City. And the hope is get them in the next round at home, knock them out, and then that's it. You should then win the FA Cup. I know it's
no, 100%. And by the way, that was the Arsenal attitude towards the Carabao Cup. And now look, the Carabao Cup right now, Arsenal could have been in a semi-final easily. Arsenal could have been in a semi-final. So that's the thing. Like you look at the position that they're in right now. By the way, Arteta has more pressure on him than even Arsenal Football Club as an institution. Arteta, the manager alone, has a lot of pressure on him to win this trophy because the last trophy he won was in 2020, and the players that won him said trophy, he actually got rid of them all in Aubameyang and Pepe and players like that. These are the players who played best in that FA Cup run. He literally got rid of them all. So you look at this current Arsenal situation, like, we keep talking about process this, process that. It's the fact that they need to win something, because this will just turn into a Pochettino, a Tottenham Hotspur type situation where you keep talking about processes and good football and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, you look at the trophies and just ain't no trophies, ain't no nothing. So they need to win something. And the pressure is on the manager. The manager has all the pressure in the world right now. I think the pressure on Arsenal, on Arteta currently, is stronger than the pressure on Arsenal Football Club itself. Now, the one thing I dislike about the game on Sunday is there are replays. That's one thing that I will dislike. Sometimes they call Klopp, a moaner, and he's always complaining and he's always moaning. It's just like, you know what it is? This fixture congestion stuff is no joke, because Now, if there's a replay between Liverpool and Arsenal, you're looking at an extra game in the middle of the AFCON and the Asian Cup and the Nations League and the Euros and the Copa America and the blah blah blah, and it just keeps just piling on. So I just wish they just changed the rule, just like the Carabao Cup. Just go to penalties if it ends in a draw, to be honest with you. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I love the FA Cup, but I'm not a fan of the replays, if I'm being honest. And that's mainly because I like a game. I like cup games to end that day. I'm not even a big fan of two legs in the Champions League because I like it just to end the day the game starts. I like it to be over. I love remember in lockdown when they did the European Cups in the summer as like a mini tournament, and it was just I actually loved it. I thought it was so good because it's hard to do. You couldn't really do it. Well, you could do it now. If you top your group, you play at home in the knockouts and it's one leg. I mean, you could do that, you know what I mean? Or you become seeded because of where you finish in your group. And imagine if you win your group in Europe, you're guaranteed a home tie all the way into the semi-finals, but the semi-finals are neutral. That's what an incentive to win your group. That could work. Less game time, still the same tournament. I don't buy this trophy bullshit. If Arteta wins the FA Cup, but he's still way off the title race, he should be sacked.
So, but this is the problem, Nico. You're talking about a title race that you might not even be able to win because you've got two cheetahs racing alongside of you. One cheetah has like nitros where he can just press a button and go a lot faster. But
when you say cheetah, do you mean the animals or cheetahs? As in
no,
someone
cheetah's
cheating?
like the animal, like cheetah running alongside you. The cheating part was the nitros added to the cheetah. Like you just press a button and go a lot faster. But this is a trophy you have a chance of winning, and winning breeds winning. Like you look at the managers, they all have won trophies like this before they got to the bigger trophies. You need to start just breeding winning at your football club, and if you keep having this snobby attitude towards trophies, you'll end the season again trophyless, which means once again you're questioning Arteta massively at the end of the year. So yeah.
Look, Nico, there isn't trophy bullshit. Winning trophies is a very, very important part of football. I understand your point. If Arteta finishes sixth this year and wins the FA Cup, there is still huge grounds to sack him. So again, this is what you're doing, Nico, is you're living in this world of extreme polarization, and the context of your super chat in terms of finishing miles away from the title but winning the FA Cup, is that enough to save the manager? No, I still think you guys should seriously consider sacking him at that point. But if he finishes 3 points after winning the title but wins you an FA Cup, surely that's a better season. And I understand, and you listen to a lot of I think playing 2 games a week and being in multiple competitions makes it easier for you. This notion that it's easier playing once a week, I think, is untrue. You have all week to dwell and fester over results and upcoming games rather than jumping from match to match to match to match. So, yeah, I don't think trophies are bullshit in any capacity at all, my friend. How do you see the game going, Husam? Like, genuinely, how do you see it going? Because no Mo Salah, no Endo that's been doing well for you recently. Arsenal are at home, and Arsenal there is pressure on Arsenal, but they need a big performance because I think it's 1 win in 6 or 1 win in 7 for them. There's been a lot of negativity around. They're going to want to kind of put that. They then don't play for another 2 weeks because they go on their international break. It's been staggered this year, which I really like, by the way, sending half away and keeping half. It's a really good idea by the Premier League. How do you see the game going with that pressure on Arsenal, but with you some players missing at the Emirates this Sunday?
I think, first of all, Mo Salah is going to be a massive miss. I love the fact that he's proven everyone wrong this year. I was one of the people in the summer that said, we shouldn't be selling Mo Salah because he's just irreplaceable. And I got proven right. Currently, as things stand, you look at Mo Salah, obviously responsible for 51% of Liverpool's goals, which is absolute insanity. Meaning every 2 goals we score, he's either responsible for one of them via a goal or an assist, which is insane when you think about it, despite the amount of talent that we have. So obviously missing out on Mo Salah will be a massive miss for us. I think even Endo, despite I wasn't his biggest fan when we first signed him, this last month he's stepped up massively. He's had very good performances against Arsenal, funnily enough, at Anfield in the Premier League game. He had a very good game in that game as well. Stepped up, had a very good game. So I think he will also be a miss. And I suspect, as someone from the Asian continent, I suspect Japan will go far in this tournament. So that's a player we're probably losing for a month. When it comes to Mo Salah, AFCON really sometimes isn't played on paper. Egypt probably, like, you know, they're the heritage team, if you'd like, of AFCON, because they always usually do well in it. But on paper, there's a couple of teams stronger than Egypt, like Algeria, like Morocco, like a couple of other teams who probably look in a better place to win it now, though. But when you look at this game, I think Jurgen Klopp is going to go to the Emirates. First of all, this game has draw written all over it. A FA Cup replay is the last thing that Arsenal and Liverpool need, and that's exactly what's going to happen, because it's the last thing both teams need. I think Klopp will give Arsenal the football, we'll surrender possession, and we will have players, you know, kind of playing on the counter attack more, if you would like. Jurgen Klopp apparently today in the press conference said stuff along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, that the Emirates is not a place for you to rest players. So he's obviously taking this game seriously. I suspect he probably goes with a strong lineup. I don't see much rest or much rotation in that game, to be honest with you, because after the Carabao Cup game against Fulham, we have kind of a 14-day break. So we have a break coming up. So I'm looking at this current situation that we're in with the FA Cup. If we lose this Sunday, I don't think it's as bad, of course, as if Arsenal lose, because they're at home and they've been knocked out of the other domestic cup. But I think Liverpool will probably surrender possession, try play on the counter attack. And obviously, I'm not saying we're going to park the bus or anything. I just think we're probably going to try play a smarter game where we just hit them on the counter attack, use our pace on the counter attack, and try to win the game of football. So I think this game, all pressure is on Arsenal, and sometimes when pressure is on Arsenal, they tend to not deliver. They tend to fold. So we'll see what happens, but I think this game smells of a draw. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if there's a replay, you know, and if there is a team to win it, I probably think maybe we edge it by a goal, maybe a goal on the counter attack, something like that. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this one. Both got players missing through injuries, you know, the international tournaments and everything else. I just have this feeling. It depends on the crowd. I'm going to put this down to the Arsenal crowd. And the Arsenal fans won't like this because they'll say, well, it's the responsibility of the players. If the Arsenal crowd is really behind them and stays as relaxed as possible, I think Arsenal win. If there is a nervousness in the air, if there is huge tension that's created very early in this game, I see that getting into the players. I saw it in the last home game against West Ham, and I think it could be very prevalent in this game. So I think that Arsenal fans need to be fully behind their team. And on top of being behind their team, they've just got to try and stay relaxed and support them. I think Arsenal will win it, though. I think they're going to nick it on the day. 2-1, something close along those lines. I think it's going to be that shot in that arm that they need. And I kind of agree with you. It's never good to go out of a tournament at all. But with the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, and I think you're going to win that now with who's remaining in it. You're so much better than everybody that's left in it. You've got the Carabao Cup as well. I think you're going to rotate also for this game more so than Arsenal will. I don't think you're going to play loads and loads of kids, but generally rounds 3, rounds 4 of the FA Cup, invariably Klopp goes for a fair amount of rotation, irrespective of who he plays, if I remember correctly watching some of your earlier round games. So I think Arsenal will nick it. I think it's a big scalp if they do, because you don't want to be getting Arsenal Liverpool away from home in a quarter-final or at Wembley in a semi-final, because you then atypically take it more seriously at that point. I understand you rotating a little bit more because you've got that Carabao Cup semi and you've got a genuine chance of winning the Europa League. I know they've got a chance of winning the Champions League, but I think Arsenal will take it a little more seriously than you will. Plus, I think their run of games recently. I think maybe if you were sitting 5 points on the top of the league, it could reverse round. But they need to win silverware, and I think Arteta knows that because that pressure's on him. So I'm pipping Arsenal to just beat you.
But with the Europa League and the Champions League thing, the massive difference for me is I look at the Europa League, right? And with the teams that dropped off the Europa League, even Sevilla ain't in it this season, thank God. But you look at the Europa League, I don't know what the hell happens to them when they play Europa League. They turn into some Brazil 1974 type team. But when you look at the Europa League, what percentage chance would you give Liverpool winning the Europa League? Let's say 70%, 75%. I think that's fair, right?
You're the. I mean, I haven't actually looked at the Europa League for a while because you've got the playoff rounds to come up next. I don't even know when they are, but looking at the teams,
you have Jose Mourinho's Roma. You got Xabi Alonso's Leverkusen. Other than that,
yeah, you got Leverkusen, Roma. I mean, you got Brighton in it, who could upset you because they're an English team. Sporting Lisbon, decent, I would say, that are in there. Who's come down from the who's come down from the Champions League? Just looking at it, so you got Galatasaray, Rennes, Braga, Benfica, Feyenoord, Milan, Young Boys, Shakhtar Donetsk. But obviously, some of those teams are going to go out as well because there's playoffs. So I'm not too sure.
Yeah, they play each other as well. So that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, you've got West Ham in it, and so there are teams that can beat you. But I would say 60% chance Liverpool. I think you are. But actually, if I look at the betting odds now, odds to win the Europa. This is look at the people are betting on. I know you're not a gambler yourself, but I don't suppose it's against the rules of Islam to check the odds. I wouldn't have thought right now, not that market to win the Europa League winner. Here we go. Yeah, Arsenal. You're Liverpool. Sorry, the favourites at 9-4. So you're not quite odds on to win it, but you're the favourites. Bayern Leverkusen around 5-1, and then you've got 8-1. AC Milan, full favourites to win it. This is in the UK betting market. Is Brighton at 14-1, then West Ham at 16-1, then Roma at 16-1. I mean, I think
if I were to ask you the same question about Arsenal in the Champions League, what would you say?
I would say my guess for the odds in that I'm going to go with Arsenal being about 5-1. Let's just check it though. Odds.
And the percentage, just so we compare percentages as well, because remember you said Liverpool probably have a 60% chance. What chance do you think?
So 9-4 odds. Let me do that as a percentage. That's given us 30% probability you win it according to the bookmakers. They've given you to win it. I'm just going by their odds on there. If we do Champions League winner. Let's just work out what their odds are here. I don't know what's going to come out as. Arsenal was 6-1. So 6-1 in terms of a percentage is 7%.
Now, so the question that you answered before the odds, so using Terry's percentages, you said 60% chance Liverpool win it. What would be your chance that Arsenal win the Champions League?
I want to make sure I got that 6-1 right because I just went, yes, it's given us, no, it's a 14% chance. So I'm alive, 14% chance. So half. I would turn around and say between sort of 15 to 20% is about right, because when I look at that and break it down, I mean, Arsenal are currently full favourites with that score. Man City, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid are ahead of them. Then after Arsenal comes PSG, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Ati, Dortmund, Napoli, Leipzig. I think it's fair that Arsenal sit around fourth, if I'm being honest. So, but I look at it and go to myself, the likelihood is that one of the three between Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and Man City win it. They're taking up a good 60 to 70% of the chance at the moment. So yeah, I'll give Arsenal about 15 to 20%. Yeah, chance of winning that. So
when you look at
a bigger chance, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you look at your answer right now, 60% chance Liverpool win the Europa League, 15%, 20% chance Arsenal win the Champions League, is exactly why the pressure is on Arteta and Arsenal to win said competition. And once again, look, I'm not the type of fan who makes excuses or is smuggy or is snobby at trophies. Of course, I want to win the big one always, the Prem and the Champs. Those are the two competitions I always look at. But at the same time, given the fact that Liverpool are in a Carabao Cup semi-final, and in the Europa League, we're more than likely favorites to win it. I don't think losing this FA Cup game is the end of the world for us. Like, for us, it's not the end of the world. For Arsenal, in my opinion, it is the end of the world. That's the thing. Because it essentially means, barring that they go perfect and make the right signings in January, from now till May, they leave the season trophyless. Again, that's the problem.
Somebody said here, Terry didn't do maths at GCSE. No, I did, but it was 22 years ago, and I haven't I haven't worked out a fraction into a percentage for 22 years. So if I practiced for 10 minutes and worked it out in my head again, I'd be able to do it. But yes, I don't really use math like that in my life. But there we go. But yeah, look, I get it. Nico here says, sorry, blokes. Didn't mean to say trophies are bullshit. It was more because Arsenal have won the FA Cup in recent years. It's never got us closer to winning the Prem. No, listen, and I understand that. I understand
but the Arsenal team that won it never competed for the Prem. Look at the team 4 years ago. Didn't Arteta finish 8th with that team? So you weren't in a position to win the Prem anyway. So
yeah,
breeding with breeds winning
yeah,
did not apply back then.
Yeah. I agree. I do get where this guy's coming from. That it's not a guarantee they go on to win the Premier League, just winning the FA Cup. That's why you have to assess it in terms of your you have to assess it club by club, team by team, year by year, about how good things were, how bad things were, etc. Because it's otherwise you'll find yourself in a really, really sort of difficult position, as it were. But thanks for that super chat, bro. Guys, would you rather be invincible Centurions or have a league and league cup double? I have also changed from Arsenal to Liverpool as my favourites to win the league. Yeah, so what would you rather? Cool, would you rather get 100 points and be invincible, or win the league and the League Cup in a double?
I'd rather win the double, to be honest with you. I'd rather win 2 trophies. You know, and look, I keep my same energy. A Carabao Cup on a Carabao Cup and a FA Cup, or it goes better with something bigger than it. So if you win the Champs or the Prem alongside one of them, it always feels better. You know, you could say you want the double, etc. So that's what I'd say. I'd rather do a League Cup double.
Same. And as great as that record would be to have, I would always take winning. I would always 110% take winning 2 trophies over 1, irrespective of the record that comes with it. Because again, I want my club to have the most amount of trophies out there. Stephen here says, sorry to disappoint you, mate, but it's not the only trophy to win. We're still in a race, and as long as we are in any competition, it means we have a chance to win it. Okay.
No, of course you have a chance. No one's saying you don't have a chance, but we're just playing a percentages game. So let's say Arsenal knock out Liverpool this Sunday in the FA Cup, okay, and there's only Man City left in it that you have to worry about. So I would say Arsenal have a 45% chance, maybe possibly 50% chance if I include their FA Cup heritage, to win the FA Cup. But when I look at the Champions League, you know, Terry said 15-20%. I'd give Arsenal probably a 5% chance at winning the Champions League. And the Premier League, you already know the battle that there is to win the Premier League in the next 6 months. So if you're playing a percentages game and we're playing just a numbers game on which is more likely, which you have a chance of, I think the Premier League and the Champions League are way less of a chance than the FA Cup. So what I'm saying is a team right now, by the way, the likes of Saka, Martinelli, Jesus, Rice, etc. These players 100%, you know, should have a trophy right now because it would help them as well take it to the next level, take it to the next stage. That's what I'm saying.
Which makes yeah. Listen, I think, Stephen, I get where your pushback is. I think this is more to do with us, the likelihood of winning trophies, and it's you knock out Liverpool, you've suddenly got a really good chance of winning that FA Cup because you're then better than everybody else remaining in it potentially. Where with the Champions League, again, that could change by the end of. But you know, you could find yourself, you could get through to the quarterfinals, and maybe in the quarterfinals, Man City get Bayern Munich, and you get a relatively easier draw, and one of those 2 teams knocks each other out, and then in the semi-finals, Real Madrid get Manchester City, and therefore 2 of the 3 teams that were above you in terms of the favourites have all knocked each other out, which gives you a much better chance of winning it. So you know that's just normal. Bloke on the right is waffling. Tear him a new one. I don't
Yet
know
you're paying money to get recognized on a show by me, and I've seen you in the chat crying for the last hour. So yeah, big up. What's the time in Australia anyway? Isn't it like 5 a.m.? You're up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. watching me and moaning in the chat about watching me.
Tony here has asked an interesting question. It says, Sam, how much do cigarettes cost where you are? In Australia, I had to quit because it was $55 for a pack of 25. That is, I mean, I don't even know Australian dollars.
That is
pounds.
absolutely mental.
That's equivalent of £29 sterling. What was it cost for a packet over there?
I'm literally about. I wanna change it to Australian dollars right now. Oh my days! 1 second. Let me just tell you the exact price. So 55 Australian dollars is 26 dinars, which is around 30 pounds. One packet cost about 4.7 Australian dollars. But the one thing I will say is, though, with you, Tony, and everyone listening, look, just because I smoke or whoever smokes, never ever take me as a role model. I'm not a role model. Don't smoke. Smoking is one of the worst things you could ever do. I started 10 years ago. I've tried to quit multiple times. It's very difficult to quit. I've lost 55 kilograms. I've been in the gym. I've done so much positive changes in my life, and literally the most difficult thing to do is to quit smoking. So if you're listening to this, you're a youngster, you're someone who's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, do not smoke. Please do not pick up that first cigarette, because it's an addiction worse than even drugs to let go of. So be careful and put your health first.
It's one of the little things about my life I'm quite proud of. I've never even tried it. Never even been tempted to.
Usually when you smoke your first cigarette, you dislike it, and that's why you don't smoke. The problem for me is we went on a school barbecue and we had like kebabs, meat, chicken, everything. And a guy offered me a menthol cigarette, and it just had that mint flavor to it after a barbecue. So it just felt different. Like, it felt so amazing. And I've been addicted ever since. So look, just don't smoke, man. Just don't smoke.
Why is this fraud still on the show, Terry? Whenever he says something, the opposite happens. Biggest fraud and crybaby ever.
So, German chicken wing, was I wrong when I said Crystal Palace will draw 2-2 with Manchester City? Was I wrong when I said the Liverpool-Arsenal game will end in a draw? Was I wrong when I said Chelsea are the biggest embarrassment in modern football after spending $1 billion? I could say so much that I was right on. And you know why I love you, German chicken wing? You always come everywhere I go. I'm rent-free in your head, and the entire City fans in this YouTube thing, I'm here. I live in your head rent-free. Wherever I go, German chicken wing, you're following me and sending super chats. Hold that L. You have to spend your money so you can get my attention. I'm in your head rent-free. Hold that.
There we go. Viewers, make sure you've hit the like button. Please make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace as well, mate. I always enjoy talking football with you, as ever, every single Friday. We will be back next week in the build-up to the Premier League returning. Viewers, please hit the like button before you leave. Subscribe to us. Turn that bell notification on as well if you've not done it. You will miss content when it goes out if that is not done. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.